What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. And I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 18 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. So we're on a huge hot streak. But if you want to get 18 picks right like me, win more bets, or receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure you join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $611 just yesterday. And another member who won $270 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So I want to give a quick shout out to 16 Ohms who said 21 Adley. Also shouts out to JRock33 who said let's get this win. And shouts out to also Mech County Boy Main who said it's pick time, lock and loaded. So shouts out to them. And if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're talking about is none other than Bobby Portis. And this one is for 14.5 points, and this one actually is for less. Now, when we look at Bobby Portis, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at some of the most notable games in those last 5, we had February 13th against Minnesota. He actually had 8 points in that matchup. Then April 9th faced off against Minnesota again on a back-to-back, and he had 18 points there. Then on April 11th, faced off against New Orleans Pelicans, had 14 points. And then April 12th, faced off against Detroit Pistons, where he had 17 points there. So it's definitely been an interesting time for Bobby Portis and also the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks do have themselves a very good matchup against none other than the Indiana Pacers. So as you all know, Indiana Pacers are a pretty strong team. We have seen them do very well throughout the season. Now, the Indiana Pacers do actually rank 4th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 50-32. So they did a fantastic job, for, the Eastern Conference. And also on top of that, when you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they are just trailing 1 slot behind because they actually rank 5th with a record of 48-34. So a 2-win difference, between both of these teams. So very exciting game coming into this one. Now, obviously, Bucks did have a record of 58.5% win percentage, and then Pacers had a 61% win percentage as well. But now when we look at Indiana Pacers, when it comes to points allowed, we do see that Indiana Pacers do actually rank 17th when it comes to points allowed. Now, although they do rank 17th, we still do very much like, the under for this situation here. A big reason being for this is due to the fact that when we look at actually, Bobby Portis' position, he does end up playing that forward position. And since he does end up playing that forward position, we do very much like the under because Indiana actually do a fantastic job, especially against the forwards. So we definitely see him struggling, especially against this line. Bobby Portis as well doesn't have the highest usage rate in the points department for this actual Milwaukee Bucks team. We see other players taking a little bit more of usage rate away from, someone like Bobby Portis, which can definitely affect his line greatly. Now, obviously, on top of that, when we look at Bobby Portis over his games throughout the season against Indiana, we do see a bit of a similar and somewhat different story. Now, Bobby Portis has faced off against them twice. They played each other on the 22nd of November, and he actually had 17 points in that matchup, so he did go over on that line. But the second game, which was on December 31st, he actually had 14 points in that matchup, so he actually went on the under in that one as well. So pretty much 50% going on the under out of these 2 games. So, we actually saw one game went on the over, one game went on the under. But coming into the playoffs, obviously there is going to be a lot of strategy coming into this matchup, and it's definitely going to lead to Bobby Portis going on the under for this one. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for someone like Bobby Portis. We should definitely see him going on the under due to those reasons. So when you look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have him favored for the under as well, and that works out in our favor there. So Bobby Portis, 14.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Russell Westbrook. Now, Russell Westbrook, this one is a fantastic one for 9.5 points for Russell, and this one is for less. Now, when we look at Russell Westbrook, we've actually seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those games, April 5th faced off against Golden State Warriors, where he had 5 points there. Then April 7th faced off against Indiana, where he had 16 points. April 10th faced off against Sacramento Kings, having 5 points. April 12th faced off against Memphis, where he had 14 points. And then Houston Rockets on April 14th against Houston, like I mentioned, and had 17 points there. So he's going on the under in 2 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is also 11.4. So yes, it is slightly above this line, but we do see that Russell Westbrook does face off against, one of his former teams, which is the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, this is definitely going to be an interesting one. Now, looking at both of these teams, we see that they rank 4th and 5th. So when we look at Denver Nuggets, they have a record of 50-32, 61% win percentage, and they ranked 4th. So great job for Denver there. And then on the other side, pretty much, almost the same, because the Clippers actually ranked 5th. However, they had the same record of 50-32 with a 61% win percentage. So definitely came down to, points for and against at that point to pick the actual matchup. But either way, these teams are definitely some of the top in the Western Conference. It's definitely going to be a very exciting game. Now, looking at the LA Clippers and how they do well defensively, we do see that LA Clippers during the regular season actually ranked 4th when it comes to points allowed. So that's absolutely huge. LA Clippers are a massive and great defensive team all around. We've definitely seen that time and time again, and that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this one. LA Clippers not only rank well at restricting points, but they also do a fantastic job at restricting points to the guard position, which is why we do very much like the under for a situation like this. Now, coming into this game as well, when we actually look at Russell Westbrook against the Clippers so far this season, he has definitely played multiple games so far. Now, starting off with his first game that he did play against them, which was on the 26th last year, and he actually had 2 points in that matchup, so under that line there. Then they faced off against each other again last year on the 1st of December, where he had 9 points in that matchup, so was still under his line at by 0.5 pretty much. Then on the 13th of December, we actually saw him have 24 minutes of play, but still only score 5 points, so actually went on the under there. And then again faced off against each other on January 8th, where he had 19 points in that matchup. So he did have a good game in that last one. However, when you look at the history, you do see that Russell Westbrook has significantly gone on the under in 3 out of those 4 games. So, that is a big reason why we still do like the under for this situation here. We definitely see that being the case coming into this matchup due to the fact that when we look at Westbrook, he has gone on the under more than he's gone on the over. So we definitely see that being a big thing coming into this game, no doubt about it. Now, looking at Russell Westbrook as well, what we also are expecting is due to the fact that he doesn't have the highest usage rate in the points department. Yes, he does have a decent one, but we should see some other players in this Denver team take a little bit more of that usage rate, whether it's Jamal Murray, MPJ, or Michael Porter Jr., and also Nikola Jokic for sure. So, we could see Westbrook go on the under due to those reasons, and we definitely see that happening, especially against the LA Clippers, who just do a great job defensively. So, Russell Westbrook, 9.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting to the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than Bogdan Bogdanovic. Now, this one is another great one because this is also for points. So, guys, we do have a lot of points lines, but they definitely are very good. This one is actually for 8 points, and this is for less. Now, when we look at Bogdan, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see April 6th, they faced off against Dallas, where he had 7 points. April 9th against San Antonio Spurs, where he had 19 points. April 10th faced off against Houston, had 16 points. And then Sacramento Kings on April 12th faced off against, and they had 2 points there. And Golden State Warriors had 5 points and had April 14th. So we actually did see him go on the under, like I mentioned, actually 3 out of the last 5 games. But on top of that, when it comes to Bogdan, we've also seen that his average over the last 5 is 9.8. So yes, it is slightly above this line, but you do have to remember he did have 2 outlier games against Houston and against San Antonio Spurs. But now that it is playoff time, we should see a very, very different story because they do face off against the Denver Nuggets. Now, as you all know, like we mentioned just, pretty much before, we did see Nuggets do rank 4th with a record of 50-32, while the Clippers have a different record, same record, of 50-32, but also a different standing. So they do rank 5th. So both pretty much similar. It came down to pretty much points for and against. Now, when it comes to Bogdan, we've actually seen him, face off against Denver quite a few times, and we'll touch on that in a bit. But we do see that the Denver Nuggets do rank 25th when it comes to points allowed. Now, the reason why we still do like, the under, for this situation here is due to the fact that when we look at Bogdan, we do like the under due to the fact that he is a guard, and Denver Nuggets do a fantastic job at restricting points to the guard position. So we definitely see someone like Bogdan struggling here. Now, as we all know, Bogdanovic did have a pretty good usage rate in his old team, the Atlanta Hawks, but in the LA Clippers, he definitely has a very, very different role. Definitely not sort of a main player or getting 10-15 points on the regular. He has a much smaller role in this matchup, and especially coming into this playoffs, we should see him, not really be a main scoring threat or a main scoring asset for this LA Clippers team coming into the game 1 of the NBA playoffs. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one there. Well, I think overall, you definitely do like the under due to those situations. Now, looking at Bogdan so far this season, we have seen them face off against, Denver twice. Obviously, this is against a very different team because Bogdan was actually in Atlanta Hawks, had a very, very different usage rate. He had 40 points in their matchup on the 11th of December, and then he had 18 points on the 6th as of recent. So, when we actually look at that, yes, it may seem like, he scored very, very well. However, guys, Atlanta Hawks, he had a very different usage rate, but I thought I'd still show you this because I think it is still super important to show these stats. However, like I mentioned, guys, very different role, so we would or are expecting him to go on the under for this one. Now, when we look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have him favored for the under as well, so that works out in our favor there. So with all those things being said, we also do see that the LA Clippers and Denver Nuggets game, we are expecting a pretty slow pace game between both of these teams. So for that reason, we definitely see that affecting Bogdan drastically. So it may be similar to what they are used to pace-wise, but it's still it is still technically on the slower side. So you still want to keep an eye out for that when it comes to overall volume. So Bogdan Bogdanovic, 8 points for less, I think is a great pick. So as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Tyrese Haliburton. So as you all know, Tyrese Haliburton is a fantastic player for Indiana Pacers, and they do have themselves a very good matchup. But starting off with Tyrese, during the regular season, he did average 18.6 points, ranking him 41st. Also 3.5 rebounds, ranking him 141st, and then 9.2 assists, ranking him 3rd, while also shooting 47.3% from the field, ranking him 58th. So he has had himself a very, very good regular season, and now they head off into the first round of the NBA playoffs, and they face off against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Now, looking at where both these teams rank, they do rank very interestingly, almost, very similar to each other. Now, Pacers did rank higher. They had a record of 50-32 and actually ranked 4th in the Eastern Conference, while Milwaukee Bucks, on the other hand, do rank 5th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 48-34. So when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks, they did do a fantastic job all season. However, when we look at their defensive, sort of efficiency out there, we did see during the regular season, the Milwaukee Bucks did rank 13th in points allowed. In assists allowed, they did rank 14th, and then rebounds allowed, we also did see that, the Milwaukee Bucks also ranked pretty decently, nothing really too major, but just decent, as they ranked 23rd. So they rank pretty mid-tier in all 3 categories. Now, because of that, we do very much like the over for this situation here. although Milwaukee Bucks are very mid-tier in all three categories, where Milwaukee Bucks definitely do struggle is that they do a very, very poor job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the actual point guard position. And for that, we do very much like the over for this situation here for someone like Tyrese. Now, Tyrese does have a decent usage rate in all three departments, whether it's points, rebounds, and assists. Now, there won't really be any need to focus on maybe one or two lines. I think he has a capability to definitely go over in all three of them. And expecting because of that is that due to the fact that Bucks and Pacers are both pretty fast-paced teams, we should expect a pretty fast-paced game from both of these matchups. So for that reason, we do very much like the over for this situation here. We definitely see Tyrese not really having any too much struggle, especially against this Bucks matchup. Now, when we look at Tyrese, when he did finish off the regular season, he finished off very strong. He came off a game where he had 23 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, so that was fantastic. Did go over on every single line there. Another matchup, he had 22 points, 6 assists, 1 rebound, and then a couple other matchups where he had 22 points against Charlotte, 10 assists, and also 1 rebound there. So rebounds is definitely his smallest, or I'd say the lowest amount of usage rate. However, against this Bucks team, we shouldn't really see any issue in any of these lines. But definitely just keep an eye out for the line you think kind of has the best value for you. I do like to look at it where if the lines is under his averages, then definitely look to go on the over, because there'd definitely be a lot of value there for someone like Tyrese. So keep an eye out for him in this matchup. It is definitely going to be a very, very exciting game. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Ivica Zubac. So, Zubac, as we all know, fantastic player for the LA Clippers, and he did a fantastic job all season because he actually averaged during the regular season 16.8 points, ranking him 55th, 12.6 rebounds, ranking him 4th, 2.7 assists, ranking him 93rd, and 62.8% from the field, ranking him 4th as well. So, he did a fantastic job for the LA Clippers. And when it comes to the LA Clippers, they do have themselves a very, very interesting matchup against none other than the Denver Nuggets. So it is going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Now, obviously, both of these teams played very, very hard during the regular season, and we actually did see the Nuggets take the topper spot out of these two teams because they actually ranked 4th in the Western Conference with a record of 50-32. So they had a 61% win percentage, which I thought was great there. But surprisingly enough, the LA Clippers actually had a record of 50-32 as well, and actually ranked 5th. So the same record, it really did come down to points for and against at that point. They also had a win percentage of 61%, so they did a fantastic job there. But when it comes to Ivica Zubac, we definitely see him having a very interesting game coming into this matchup, because when we look at the Denver Nuggets, we do see that the Denver Nuggets do rank 25th when it comes to points allowed. They rank 29th when it comes to assists allowed. And when it comes to rebounds allowed, we also did see that the Denver Nuggets rank a little bit better as they rank 6th in rebounds. So when it comes to someone like Ivica Zubac, we do like the over for this situation. However, for mainly points and assists. A big reason being for this is that when it comes to Ivica Zubac, he definitely does have a decent usage rate in rebounds, yes, for sure. But Denver Nuggets do a fantastic job at restricting, rebounds. Not just in general, but also have a great job at restricting rebounds to the center position. And for that reason, we do very much see Ivica Zubac going on the under in that one, but we are focusing on the over more for points and assists. We definitely see a lot of value there. Now, obviously, he will be facing off against Jokic in that center position, so we should see him definitely struggle a little bit in that rebounding. So the rebounding is a little bit more 50-50. We are more focused on the points and assists, and we definitely see him going on the over in that one. Now, when we look at the pace of both of these teams, yes, they may not be very fast-paced teams, but we are expecting, nothing really too drastic in a sense of, where the pace is going to shift to. Since they have very similar paces, we are expecting a similar amount of volume that we usually do see from Zubac coming into these games, and for that reason, we do very much like the over for strictly points and assists. So, when we look at his last 5 games, he definitely had some big games to finish off the season. Obviously he did a fantastic job, but when you look further, you do see that some of his games he faced off against Golden State Warriors, where he had 22 points, 3 assists, and 17 rebounds. So actually went over on all 3 of his lines there. Then after that, they also faced off against another great team, which was San Antonio Spurs. He had 24 points, 20 rebounds, and 5 assists. And he also had a triple-double against Houston Rockets, where he actually had 20 points, 10 assists, and 11 rebounds there. So he did a fantastic job all season, and we definitely see that, translating into this next game, no doubt about it. Now, when we look at Ivica Zubac, what we also do see is that when it actually comes to his usage rate, it has been very, very high for this Clippers team. He's definitely had a little bit more when it comes to, before they lost other players in their roster last season. They have definitely improved in a sense of, LA Clippers are in a better position. And on top of that, Zubac has definitely taken a bigger role. So we definitely see his playoff run this year being very different to his playoff runs in the past. So definitely keep an eye out for Zubac. I do very much like the over for this situation, but like I mentioned, points and assists is definitely where you want to focus on. Rebounds is a little bit tricky since Jokic is on the other side. Jokic is just such a big rebounder for this team. It could be a little bit more up in the air for Ivica Zubac coming into that matchup. So keep an eye out for Zubac there. Now getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Josh Hart. So as you all know, Josh Hart, fantastic player from the New York Knicks, and he's done a fantastic job all season as well. Now he actually has been averaging during the regular season 13.6 points, ranking him 75th. Also 9.6 rebounds, ranking him 13th. 5.9 assists, ranking him 22nd, and 52.5% from the field, ranking him 20th actually. So he did a very, very good job there. It was great to see that. Now when it actually comes to someone like Josh Hart, it is going to be an exciting game. But on top of anything else, what we also do see is that when it comes to Josh Hart for the New York Knicks, he has done a great job, and the New York Knicks have done such a great job that when it comes to their ranking, they do actually rank 3rd in the Eastern Conference. So, Knicks did a fantastic job all season. They had a record of 51-31, which was interesting to see there. So very, very good record. They did well, and they had a 62% win percentage. Now, they face off against the Pistons. Now, Pistons had a bit of a different record, a bit of a discrepancy between both of them, but Pistons still came in at the 6th spot and had a record of 44-38 with a win percentage of 53.7%. So they did a fantastic job as well, good enough to make the playoffs. And, I think it is really great to see Detroit Pistons be able to make the playoffs for some time. Now, when it actually comes to this Josh Hart matchup against the Pistons, we do see that when it comes to the Pistons do actually rank when it comes to points allowed. They rank 14th. Moving on into assists allowed, we see that they rank 6th, and then rebounds allowed, they also do rank 6 as well. So this was an interesting one for us. We do very, very much like, the under for this situation here, due to the fact that Josh Hart, although he is a fantastic player, he is up against a Detroit Pistons team that do a fantastic job defensively, and we should definitely see him go on the under for this one. Now, when you also look further, you also do see that obviously Pistons do rank a little bit lower in that, points category. But when we look at per position basis, we do see Detroit Pistons just do a fantastic job at, slowing down and restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the shooting guard position. So unfortunately, we definitely see Josh Hart being on the short end of the stick of that. We should see him go on the under in this situation here. Now, when you also look further, we also do see that, Josh Hart, he does have a decent usage rate in this team, but there are also other players in this roster that do have a good amount of usage rate, whether that's Karl-Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson. And since Pistons do focus on shooting guards, we should see someone, like Josh Hart maybe take a back seat and try to let their others, kind of score more, assist more, rebound more, since a lot of the defense may be actually against, someone like Josh Hart, since he is a shooting guard. So definitely going to be interesting there to see. Now, when we look also on top of that, we do see the pace between both of these teams. We are expecting, a very, very slow game. Pistons are a very slow-paced team. So are the Knicks. So very, very little pace from this matchup. So less pace means less volume and also less opportunity for someone like Josh Hart. So all in all, we do like the under for this situation for Josh Hart. So keep an eye out for his line. There really isn't any to focus on. I think he has the capability to go on the under in all three of the lines. Now, when we look at, when he finished off the season, he had one game, or coming off the most recent game he had 8 points, 5 assists, 11 rebounds. So yeah, he did a decent job there. Was still under on his points and assists line, or compared to his averages. Another matchup where he only had 7 points, 5 assists as well, and 10 rebounds there. So yeah, when it comes to Josh Hart, specifically against certain teams, his usage rate definitely falls quite a bit. So you want to keep an eye out for that. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Rudy Gobert. So Rudy Gobert, great player from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he did a fantastic job all season because he actually averaged 12 points, ranking him 95th, 10.9 rebounds, ranking him 7th, 1.8 assists, ranking him 143rd, and also had a 66.9% field goal percentage, ranking him 3rd. So when it comes to Rudy Gobert, they also did a fantastic job, during the regular season. Now, they did actually, or were able to scrape themselves a playoff spot because they came in at the 6th spot in the Western Conference with a record of 49-33. So they had a record of 59% win percentage. They did a fantastic job there. Now, they do face off surprisingly against the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, that is definitely going to be an exciting matchup. Obviously, the Los Angeles Lakers had a better record and had a record of 50-32, so slightly a bit better. Now, they did come in 3rd, like I mentioned. They did a very good job, especially with the trade that they did make, or the drastic trade that they did make during the regular season. It is definitely going to be interesting coming into this matchup because these teams definitely want that spot, and they are definitely going to push for it, no doubt about it. Now, looking at actually, where Lakers do rank when it comes to points, rebounds, and assists allowed, we do see that the Lakers do rank when it comes to points allowed. Surprisingly, they rank 10th. On top of that, assists allowed, the Lakers do rank a little bit lower as they rank 22nd. And then rebounds allowed, they rank a little bit higher as they rank 9th. So interestingly enough there, we do see them rank pretty well in certain categories. I think it is definitely going to be enough to see someone like Rudy Gobert go on the under in this one. Now, we do very much like the under all around, whether it's points, rebounds, and assists. Yes, Lakers do rank a little bit lower in assists, but for someone like Rudy Gobert, he doesn't have that high of an assist usage rate, so we don't really see that, being a big deal there. So we still definitely see him going on the under in this one. When we look at the matchup between both of these teams, Timberwolves and Lakers, we are expecting a decent amount of pace from both of these teams, so no really drastic changes between the two. But with Rudy Gobert not really being the main star for this roster, we should see other players take a little bit more usage rate away from Rudy Gobert coming into this matchup. Now, Lakers also do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the center position, so we definitely see Rudy struggling in this scenario here. Now, looking at some of his most recent games, he did have some games where he didn't do so well. He had Milwaukee Bucks where he had 6 points, 2 assists, and also 9 rebounds, so didn't really do well there. Had another matchup where he had 13 points, 4 assists, 8 rebounds, so definitely against certain tougher teams that do a great job at restricting centers, he definitely has struggled quite a bit, and we should see the same happen here. So for that reason, keep an eye out for Rudy Gobert for the under. If the line is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under there.